This is a quick video on how to put together Steampunk Henrietta. So this is our 3D MDF steampunk chicken model. You will have pretty much two pieces of, like everything doubled, and that's because you have two sides identical but just mirrored. So do one side at a time and then you put the two sides together at the end. So we won't need the base, you've only got one of them, we won't need that at the moment. This is the flame piece for the back. You have the lengths and then a circle bit one end, a circle bit the other end, and the lengths just slot into it. Then you put the fires together, or you can do them individually, whichever you find easier. And they go, oh, let's do them individually. And they slot into that. Okay, so that makes your exhaust bit that will go on our back, but again, you'll use that at the end. Now the base and the exhaust part are the bits that hold your chicken together. Other than that, the sides are individual. And of course glue. It does say in the instructions use a good PVA glue. I'm not going to use PVA because I want to be able to take my model apart to decorate her in a bit. So you'll get full instructions. There's an idea of the parts you'll get, and I would say separate them so that you know what they are. So part one is this part, so you can see it's got these extra notches in it. Part two is this one because it's quite fat, very similar to that one but without the extra notches. Part three is this one here with the little notch cut into it, and part four is this piece here. All right, so they're numbered as you go through the instructions. So on page one, the first thing it tells you to do is how to do this little piece. So this is piece A. So on your instructions, you will see it is piece A. And you'll see here it shows it as piece A. All right, let's move these out of the way. So it says take piece A and then take the 3 partial circles. So again, don't forget you'll have 6 of these because you'll have double, because you'll have it for the other side, but we're just doing one side at the moment. Take your 3 partial circles and slot them onto piece A. Now you will notice that one side is flat and one side is rounded. Make sure all the round sides are on the same side and all the flat sides are on the other side. So the flat side will be towards the non-pictured side. So this has got the flat bit on it. This has got the rounded bit on it. Okay, and we're just going to pop them on. Oh, my fiddly hands. I'll try and do it quick. Okay, so that's them bits slotted on. Then you need piece 4. Now remember from page 1, piece 4 was this one. The longer, the smaller out of them all, slightly longer, skinnier. So it says take piece 4 and slot it through piece A. Okay, so now we have that through there. All right, and then it says take this get my words out, this cog shaped section and slot it over. Okay, now that is that bit complete, and then obviously you do the same for the other side. Right, so these are your sides. So get both your sides. They're both facing the same way, so you can tell this is the head bit, and you can tell this is the tail bit. They're both facing the same way, and you'll see that it's got these notches cut into them. Okay, there's 4, and what you want to do is you want to line them up. So if you can see through now because they're all lined up. So I'm going to read it as if I'm reading the instructions. Obviously I've built this model numerous times and in different ways as I was tweaking it. So I will read it as the instructions tell you to do it so that you can read along as you do it. So you build one side at a time. Both sides are identical except for facing opposite directions. Place both the pieces together. Line the holes up in the body pieces, which is what we've done here. And body piece L2, which is this one, goes on top of L1, which is this one. And now we're already on to page 3. So, you know, you can see we're getting through these instructions really quick. So this is what's classed now as the neck piece. This is the piece we built a minute ago. So you slot this into slot H1, which is this slot here. Now on the very front page, if you're not sure what the slots are, on the very front page on your parts list, it shows you that the top slot is H1, the bottom one at the front is H2. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if that'll pick that up. There we go. The top one at the back is H3 and the bottom one at the back is H4. So it clearly shows you on this. If you need to refer back to this at all, just refer back to it so you can see what slot is what. But at the same time, it is also pictured here. So you can see it's going in the top one. You can see that that's H1 and you can see it's in L2, which is this top surface. In fact, everything we do now will be working on this top surface because it's covering the bottom one. All right, so this is the neck piece and it's going into H1. And remember, you can refer to the first page to see where your H1 is. So this slot here goes into H1, and this is why the flat pieces here needed to be towards the back, because they sit against your chicken's neck. All right, so that is now slotted on. Them two pieces are attached together and your neck piece is in place. Okay. Right, so now it says to build up the chain section. So this is our chain section, all right? So on the model, the larger piece of the chain goes towards the chicken's chest and the smaller piece goes towards the tail. So we've got our chain section. Let's move this out of the way so you can see it a bit clearer. So, chain section over part 1. Now part 1 was this one, with, let me just show you there, with the little notches, extra little notches. Okay, so slot the chain section, the large end of the chain section, over part 1. Now you will find this will go over not only this bit here at the end, but over the notch as well, so it sits on this chunkier bit. All right, and that's what you're aiming for. So if you can see it there, it's slotted there, so the actual next notch is actually now level with that in there. Okay, so slot that over. So then slot cog shaped C, which is this bit, over both of them pieces. Oh, so if that comes off, you just have to push that back on and push that into place. All right, that's on there. Slot cog shape D, which is this piece, and again, all of these C, D's, etc. are all on here next to the shape, so you can see clearly what it is. So that's a good reference to keep going back to if anything in here gets confusing. Okay, so take part 2. So part 2 was this one. So it's the one that's very similar to the one you've just used, but without the additional notches. Part 2, slot cog shape D on part 2. Okay, all right, so we've slotted cog shape D on part 2 and add it to the body in hole H3. So again, if we look at this, hole H3 is the top hole at the back. All right, so this is the top hole at the back, and so we're going to add it. And again, it might take a bit of wiggling because you're going through 2 levels, don't forget, so that it comes out level, because each time you're adding another bit, it's holding the 2 layers together. But again, as recommended, use some glue under this as well to help you. All right, so now you can push that cog down firmly over that piece. All right, so that's now attached to the body. So this smaller end of the chain is going to go over that once we've put the leg on. We have to put the leg on first because the leg sits under this bit here. All right, so your chain section is done. Okay, and we're ready for the chain section there. So now we're going to do the leg section. All right, so this is the leg. Put some of the pieces of the legs. All right, this is part 3, and remember, you can refer to the first sheet if you need to see what part 3 is, and it's the one with a little notch in it there. Now it does say on here, slot the leg onto part 3 with the opening slot piece of part 3 facing downwards. So this is the opening slot on part 3, and that's got to be facing downwards. Okay, this is where it's going to go through the leg. So I've slotted that through and it is facing downwards. So that notch, if we can pick it up, is there. All right, so that's facing downwards towards the foot. Okay, so then this is, for those of you that don't know, is a conrod. It's used in engines. And this con rod slots, see this little notch here, okay, that slots into the little gap you left. So that's why you have to leave that facing downwards, so that this can slot over onto it, all right, like that. So that is slotted onto there. So now you add the leg section to H4. So H4 is this hole here, and we're going to just push this bit into H4. All right, so that's our leg attached. Now we can add the cog section. So the large end of the cog section goes into H2. So this bit at the back is going to go into H2. Okay. And then remember what we said, this will now slot onto here, which it does. Small end goes onto that cog area there, and you see how it just sits over the leg cog. So that's why you had to fit the leg first. All right. If you try and fit the leg after, you can do it, but you just have to lift this and get it under. So it's easier just to fit it after. I mean, you'll find ways. What I would recommend is if you're going to paint bits before you put it together, bear in mind MDF can swell, or where we have perfect fitment on anything, a layer of paint can change that fitment slightly. So you might have to sand it off a bit if you've got paint where you perhaps shouldn't have. But if you are going to paint it in pieces, I would recommend building it first once so you understand how it goes together before you then take it apart and paint it. Okay, so we're now on to page 4 of the instructions. All right, so it says add cog Z, which is this one, onto top of cog Y. Now if you don't want to do this bit, you don't have to. This is just a decorative bit more than anything. So add cog Z or Z on top of cog Y, and then glue where you would like in the tail area. Now I use this area here as my guide as to where I want to put it, and that's where I put it. Now, like I said, I'm not PVA-ing this because I want to take it apart later. I've just used double-sided tape for now just to be able to show you, but that would be that in there. If you don't want to use that there and you want to use them for another project, if you've got metal embellishments you want to put there, you know, go ahead. Obviously this is your model, you do it how you want to do it, but that's where I want to put mine. Then you've got this face piece, and we're now going to put that over the face. Now if you look at the face piece, you will see, again let's move this out of the way so you can see it clearer, you've got the eyepiece with these here, and then you've got the 3 bits here and a bigger chunkier bit there. Well, that bigger chunkier bit is designed to be at the bottom. All right, again, if you put it on any other way, it is entirely up to you, but it's designed to be at the bottom. So I'll line that circle of the eye, that eye circle up with the eye circle on here, and this bit I will aim to be kind of level with his chest here. Again, this is a decorative bit. You don't have to do it quite the same as me. You know, how you put that will affect the way that she looks. And so it is entirely, as you can see, it's just changing how she looks. So it's entirely up to you how you put it, but that's where I'm going to put it. All right, and that is it. She's built. She's built. There's not really much else you have to do. You do the other side the same. So we've now got 2 sides the same, and you put them 2 sides together. Now when they're together, you use this piece, and you notice one end had the small square bit, which is where you fitted your flames into, and this has got the longer piece here. Well, this longer piece goes over these notches that have been created here and that go all the way across the top of the model. All right, so once you put that on there, again, glue your 2 parts, your 2 halves, should I say, together. Oh, once you've glued your 2 halves together like that, they're not going anywhere anyway, but this is an extra little bit of reinforcement as such that now holds the sides together. And again, with your base, it doesn't matter which way the base goes down, but slot your feet into the base, and again that will hold your sides together. Now as you can see, she is standing really well, and I've used no glue on her. The base might fall off when I lift her because it's a bit looser, but as you can see, I've used absolutely no PVA on her at all whatsoever, and yet she's still stuck together Really great, because these pieces and the base hold the sides together. So just build your sides individually. Build your sides individually, and it's really simple. And just remember, refer back to this original page, your first page, if you need to know what slot is what, if you need to know what part is what. They've got clear, you know, these aren't to scale, but I've done them nice and dark and bold, so you can clearly lay the pieces next to them, so you can clearly see what is piece 1, what is piece 2, and so on. All right, and all it said for the other side was, on the other bit of the instructions, was repeat for the other side. You build up the exhaust bit, which I showed you at the start, and put the 2 sections together. All right, and the notch on its back is for the flame, and that is it. Steampunk Henrietta is built.